penis installed. Well, our technology really hasn't even mastered making a real penis work much past 45 years old if you've got erectile dysfunction. So, what do you think the chances are they're going to build you a penis of the gods? Well, let me tell you, I've seen some post-ops and, yeah, no. No, sometimes those little flaps of skin are just enlarged clitoris from what they look like. But what the hell do I know? I'm just a heterosexual, traditional male. Yeah. Who, thankfully, his penis still works. Yes, it does. But there you go. So, I mean, that in a nutshell kind of brings you up to speed on the show. We've talked about the PCers and whoever the hell those people are. We don't even know, but they just kind of crawl out of the woodwork and turn your comments viral if you say anything bad or anything that even could be construed as bad. That may not necessarily be bad. They may just be valid questions, like that British actress that was in the Star Trek Into Darkness who's been shunned. Yes. Imploring a traditional means to get non-traditional results is what they're doing now. They're shunning you, i.e. getting you fired from your job, i.e. not getting you that next job, i.e. Getting you to lose your career based on a comment not even thought about twice but deemed as racist and sexist. And we've also talked about tonight the 59 possible genders you could be on Facebook in your profile now. They've updated that several months ago. Male, female, 57 others. And then if you can't pick one out of the 59 options they give you, there is, of course, the ultimate other category where you can customize it and type in whatever the hell you want. I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means on a societal basis. I don't know what this means on a humanity basis. You know, if I'll tell you, if things keep going the way they are, you're going to see our species just kill itself. If everybody's going to turn gay and lesbian and transgender and who knows what the hell else, they're not going to be procreating anymore. And if gay marriage does get approved and a thumbs up by the Supreme Court and is actually recognized as a thing, is that going to create an influx of new homosexual couples who go get married because it's the in thing to do? It's trendy. It's popular. I don't understand on that end of things. I don't understand why gay marriage is such a big deal. You know, if you love each other, have a ceremony and call it a day. What significance is it to have that piece of paper to be recognized by the government and taxed accordingly? I don't get that. You're taxed anyway. Why do you got to go and make it worse on yourself? Or better, I guess in some situations. Financially it could be better, but not in most. What is that? Why does the government have to recognize you? And is really this whole thing people's cry for attention so that people recognize you? Is that what it is? It could be. But then that's kind of cyclical. It leads me back to my conversation near the beginning of the show where I said that, is it just because we're sad and have nothing else to do? Is that where this is coming from? I don't know. It's a good question. But before the break, I asked the question, hypothetical. You're one of Bruce Jenner's kids. You're going along in life thinking everything's fine, and Bruce just sits down with you one night at dinner and says, I'm going to transition and become a woman. This is your dad, an Olympic gold medalist, for God's sake. He has 7 kids. Testosterone machine, I'm thinking. Right? Well, that testosterone machine just sits down to dinner and tells you he's going to go be a woman. You tell me that doesn't have any negative effects on you? And like I said before the commercial break, what if you then go and commit suicide? Think about it. Thank God it hasn't happened yet to any of the Jenner kids, but you never know, do you? And if it does, who's at fault? Or is anybody at fault? Or will I be indeed shunned on Twitter and Instagram and thrown to the wolves on Facebook and anywhere else I am because I've just said that? Why does there have to be anybody at fault? Maybe it was all just meant to be. Oh, yes, I've heard that before. Yeah. Well, anyway, the entire mess brings me back to something that my wife says in conversations about any of this stuff. And that question is quite simply this. Where did my right go to raise my family in a traditional manner? Yeah. Think about that for a second. I said to her when she first said that, I said, what do you mean? She says to me, we've got a little 2.5-year-old boy, Tristan. She says to me, well, now, I have to go and take him to kindergarten, and he's going to ask, he knows his mommy and daddy, of course, and he's going to see other kids with mommies and daddies, but then he's going to see the odd couple of kids now with mommy and daddy and daddy. And she says, now I have to explain that to him. And as soon as she said that, I realized, wow, something, you're absolutely right. You've lost through no ill work on your part and through no fault of your own. You've actually lost the right to raise your family traditionally in this country, and there hasn't been one word spoken about that. Not one. Well, I know there are millions and millions and millions all across this country, and indeed all around the world, quite a bit actually centered in Europe, who don't buy into this crap, who do believe in traditionalism and still live by it. I know there's a hell of a lot of American families that are in the same boat, and I gotta say, I empathize with you. Yeah, I do. That's not a good situation to have to deal with that now. And how did we lose that right? How did that transpire? How did that happen? We were all asleep on the watch. We don't have the right to raise our families traditionally anymore. And it's just because of all this shit. It's exactly what it is. And I guess, although it hasn't been put in so many words, or the term, but I guess a lot of the people that are against gay marriage and against transgenderism and against lesbians, gays, and against gender fluidity and against gender neutrality, I guess those people really are based in traditionalism and, like me, don't understand it. And most, unlike me, have not sat down face-to-face with transgender people and asked them point-blank, straight questions, gotten answers, and been more confused after a 10-hour conversation than they were when they started. And I'm not even so much sure that I was the only one confused in that conversation. No, I think the person in question that I was talking to about it, I don't think she entirely understood it either. So where do we go from here? What do we do about this? Do we do anything about this? Well, heavens no. If we say anything, we'll be shunned. That still gets me, that traditional answer to a progressive PC thing. No, I think really, to kind of sum up everything, folks, we're looking at a situation quite simply where there's a pendulum. There's a pendulum, and it swings, just like the grandfather clock. It's got that big old pendulum swinging underneath it. Every hour, like clockwork, the bell dings off and it's another hour past. And the reason that pendulums on grandfather clocks work is because they're perfectly balanced and weighted so that they'll perpetually move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. To so much of a regulated system and rhythm that they can actually mark and keep time. Yeah. And yes, it's true. The traditionalists did, of course, invent the grandfather clock, and many of them still have them in their homes today. Funny thing about that pendulum is no matter how hard it swings to the left, it'll swing back to the right with the absolute equal and opposite force. It's a pendulum. That's what they do. So, kind of in closing tonight, I'm not so much worried about the future of humanity. I know I did pose that question earlier, but I'm not so much worried about it. Why? Because of the pendulum theory. For every inch that it goes to the left, it will eventually swing back to the right just the same. And no, I'm not talking about left and right politics. Don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about those PCers out there, those gay rights activists, those transsexual activists, those anything non-traditional activists out there who are pushing so hard for this law and that law and Supreme Court acceptance and recognition and the President of the United States to accept and recognize and the laws of every state and municipality and city in the United States of America to just shut the hell up and accept our pushing. Well, be warned, PCers. Be warned. Because as the grandfather clock, that pendulum's going to come back, and it's going to come back in a direction that you have no control of, and it's going to be pushing for things that you have not even conceived of yet. But as a result of all the things that are being done right now, mark my words, laws will be put in place, society's views will change in such a manner that will most likely undo everything that you've done to date. Yeah, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Well, I am out of time. I wanted to thank you for all listening to Crash Talk tonight on the HTLA Radio 1 New York. Yeah, thanks, buddy. Hopefully we'll have something other than transgenders to talk about next week. Oh, yes, we will. You know we will. I want to thank Jenny in the booth there for pushing the buttons, making us go tonight. And I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. And be sure to catch us. You can catch us on Spreaker, iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher. The list goes on and on. You guys have a good night. If you're kicking around tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, tune in. Coffee and cigarettes, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's a lot more fun than this. Check you later.
We're New York's best talk radio, HTLA Radio 1.